and I was not able to come back. So, it's Pastor Jenny and Coach Jenny McIntyre coming to you to give you the latest of the Lori Vallow trial. It is May the 10th, and tomorrow, believe it or not, May the 11th, closing arguments start. Yes, closing arguments start. Lori Vallow has decided that she is not going to take the stand. But it might be a little too late. That's why I titled my video, Thou Shalt Not Text, because they found so much on her cloud, so much on her cloud, so many of her text messages. There's only one set of text messages that we don't know what they said, and that is the text messages that were happening between Alex Cox and Chad Daybell, and Alex Cox and her during the attempted murder of Tammy Daybell. But other than that, everything else seems to have been collected in the clouds, and there's a lot. So I'm going to give you a few and advice. Some of it will be cringy, some of it will be rather disgusting. Now, this pastor has zero problem with sex under the umbrella of marriage. It's a beautiful gift from God. But we know it's kind of the playground of adults, right, that have a significant relationship. And so who wants that out there? Particularly when you're accused of doing that while you were both married and while you were plotting the murder of your husbands and wife respectively, and when you had already murdered your children. It's really, really bad, right? But again, the big news for today is that the prosecution rested their case. The defense said that the charges should be dismissed because the state had not proven their client's guilt. Then they asked for 15 minutes, spoke to Lori, and something very interesting that happened. When they came back, they used the word no longer, which, although they tried to be very discreet, what that seems to indicate to me is that at some point, Lori Vallow intended to testify, because the words from their mouth was, after talking to our client, she is no longer. Now, they want to make it sound like she is no longer going to testify because the state didn't prove their case. Baloney. She has plenty of things to explain, but I don't think that she would have done herself any service to have taken the stand, right? I don't think she did any service to herself to have recorded all of her text messages in the cloud. And most people don't have to worry about it, right? We don't have to worry about it because we're not hiding anything. I always tell people, like, oh, everything, you're right, it's in the cloud and it's recorded, and it's like, I'm an open book. But this is not about me, this is about Lori, so let's jump right in. The first thing is that the text messages indicate that Lori and Chad met in October of 2018. And right after that, they decided that they had lived prior lives and they wanted to be with one another. He baptized her, Elena. He baptized himself, James, also called himself Raphael, different names. He started writing love stories. This always was meant to be, right? But it was not until July of the next year where the word obstacles started coming up. They wanted to be together and they were having a relationship. They were having a sexual affair. They would take time away to be with one another. She disappeared for a full month while married to Charles Vallow right before they murdered him. And he had no idea where she was, and she left the kids with him, right? But by July, end of June, July, they start calling Charles, Tally, JJ, and Tammy obstacles for them to accomplish what they wanted to accomplish. They start talking about when Charles Vallow will be murdered. Lori Vallow, on the weekend that Charles Vallow is going to be murdered, she tells her brother Alex Cox, you need to stay with me. It will be a battle, and I will be like Nephi. And the Nephi is some sort of Book of Mormon superhero. It is there in the middle of July that Charles Vallow is murder. She had told already things are going to change. Things are going to go down this weekend. That's because they knew. Why did they start with Charles? Well, very obvious. Chad and Lori were openly talking about his life insurance and didn't have a clue that he had changed it. It takes a very narcissistic person like Lori to be treated Charles the way she was treating him and never consider for 1 minute that her treating him that way would have making him take precautions. And that's exactly what he did. Another very important thing is that in July, this happens also in July, it is Lori who goes to Shad. They were already working with that scale of darkness and light. And it is Lori who in July approaches Chad via text and says, can you tell me about where Tylee is? Can you tell me about where JJ is? And it's kind of scary because the signs that she had that they may be in the dark side had to do with JJ misbehaving like a regular 7-year-old boy and with Tylee being a mouthy teenager and not cleaning her room. Ladies and gentlemen, my babies sometimes are mouthy, and most of the time, they don't clean their room. Not an excuse to murder anybody. Listen to this. This is when it gets really, really ugly. Because Shade Bell, to her question about where JJ and Tylee was, he says, I came to JJ in a dream last night. And I told him not to worry, that Raphael, meaning himself, is going to take very good care of his mommy, that he should just follow Amy into the light. No idea who Amy was, but that he would take care of his mommy. Think about that. Do you know what Lori answers? She says, that's sweet. I missed you desperately. To the threat of her son. Then this is what Chad tells her. They were already having sex, right? He says, I'm really sorry, but this is what he said. He said, grab me by the storm and I will follow you back until the very end. He was still married with his wife. They had just murdered Charles Vallow. I mean, don't get me wrong. Sex is a beautiful gift from God. And I enjoyed it for 23 beautiful years with my husband until he was unexpectedly taken away from me last October. But who would want these conversations to come out, particularly when you're still married with somebody else, you just murdered someone, and you're planning the murder of your children? I don't have to tell you what the storm means, right? Grab me by the storm. It's horrible. And it was discussed, openly discussed right there. Then, interesting, she was talking to Shad about how Blake had to be somewhere in the measure. Who is Blake, you ask? Melanie Boudreaux's son. In July of 2019, it was not only Brandon who had gone dark. It was Melanie Boudreaux's 2 children. They were with them driving when Chad sends a message to Lori and says, do you want me to cause pain to those 2 trees you're driving around with? JJ was in the car. They're not sure if Tylee was. 2 of Melanie Boudreaux kids had already gone dark. Remember when I told you that when she moved to Rexburg, she dropped some of the things of her kids in the curb? Remember how she didn't show up in court for the custody hearing? But she did manage to turn up later with Uncle Alex at Brandon Boudreaux's home and had to be removed by force, had to be arrested for trespassing because she would not listen to the police. She wanted those kids. She needs to be grateful that she got arrested. Well, maybe. I have serious question marks about this girl. I think she was too close to Lori to be completely innocent. Then continue, and this is in July 27 of 2019. Chad writes to Lori, I feel like Harry Potter. I have to stay under a stair, and then I go with my goddess lover. And he tells her permanent freedom is coming. They go back to talking about debt percentages. She asked Chad again, and Chad tells her, Tammy's percentage is very low. This is very encouraging. In other words, she was about to lose her life. Then he tells Lori that JJ is at a 2 and that Tylee is at a 3%. And Lori replies, a 2? A 3? Not a 0? Oh, she was in a hurry. She wanted those obstacles out of her life. She told Chad, reiterated that Tylee was yelling at her and they were having too many difficulties and that she was over and done with them. Lori was driving the designation. Don't forget that until very recently, the defense, when they were like cross-examining witnesses, they would try to say like, shut this, right? Shut that. Like, Lori didn't say you say this, or Lori didn't do that. Remember when they cross-examined Summer, her sister, they said the only thing that your sisters did is she lied to you about what happened to the kids. As in Lori is not responsible. But here we have her. And this is a very important portion because throughout this process, they find Lori in text messages disagreeing with Chad. Chad told her the percentages of a couple of people, and she said, nope, I don't think so. That's not their classification. And then Chad tells her, well, then we'll go with your score. So Lori is showing authority. Lori is showing in these text messages that she has authority and that Chad listens to her. Listen to what she says to Chad in another text message regarding JJ. Is he a 0 yet? When is he going to turn out to be a 0? Do you think there is a plan for these kids to be taken? Because I feel like I need to be doing something to help. She wanted to do something about it. Chad responds, when I was close to him the other day, I sensed that he was barely attached to his body. But who starts all these conversations? Lori Vallow. She's talking about whether there is a perfectly orchestrated plan. She was the one who had to do something. And man, did the prosecutor nail on that one. She was like, who started the conversation regarding the kids' death percentages? And the detective is like, Lori Vallow. Who asked about whether there was a perfectly orchestrated plan to get rid of the kids? Lori Vallow. Who initiated a conversation of what actions they could take to help get rid of the kids? Lori Vallow. And then it continues. Lori to Chad, are we supposed to wait forever? Why would God want this for me to wait endlessly? And Chad, I agree that this feels so drowned out. Guys, the text messages show that Lori kept pushing and pushing and pushing because her heart, quoting her, was breaking apart. At some point, she tells Chad, I'm clearly not a priority. If you really love me, you would not want that either, like to wait. And she's like, if things change at some point, if things change, we can change. We can talk. But right now, we have nothing to talk about. She was putting pressure on him. He was putting pressure on him. So Chad tells her, I am hindering your life. I'll leave you alone until I hear back. And then Lori replies, you can't tell me that nothing else matters but me and then treat me this way. It's been too long. I can't continue waiting. The pain is unbearable. Chad replies, yeah, put me aside until things change. And then Lori goes, "Are you going to threaten me with lack of protection?" And Shadi's like, "No, I won't do that." Why does she ask that? Because a few months prior, when they had had an argument, Shad had said, "You're not replying to me. Let me just tell you that I have been told that your protection has been retrieved, but that if you send me a thumbs up, your protection will be reinstated again." No, guys, I am not joking. Another text. Our relatives are obstacles. Lori, what is it that you want? Shad, I want to be with you. I would be there tomorrow if I could, if I didn't think heaven would strike us down. So here's another interesting thing. Shad Bell thought that heaven would strike him down if he was there present with Lori, but didn't think that heaven would strike him down if he was murdering kids and plotting with the murder of Charles Vallow. Then he started identifying other zombies. For example, people that refused to read his books, people that didn't visit them frequently. He said about this lady, ah, she leaves so fast, like if she was being burned. So the text messages further revealed that both kids were killed in September, that on October 2nd, Brandon was killed, and that October 9 was the attempt to kill Tammy. So much so that around that time, they decided that they could have a real date. Then came another detective who spoke about the James and Elena love story. My understanding is that the love story is in Idaho, in the Idaho News website, so look it up. Nate Eaton has been doing a fantastic job with this case. Look him up for more details. Just been trying to summarize things here for you. But the bottom line is, guys, the defense cannot defend the undefendable. That's my humble opinion. I think that towards the end, they were losing steam. And I think that they probably told Lori, it is in your best interest not to testify. And the best we can do for you is to stick to our guns that the 404B evidence should have never come in. And we can appeal that. But if you go onto stage and you're going through cross-examination, then we're going to have very little opportunity to reverse this. I still believe they have very little opportunity to reverse this. And I think it's about time. It's about time that we keep waiting. We've been waiting for justice for too long. Tylee, JJ, Tammy, they deserve justice. So because the defense rested, because Lori decided not to take the podium, there's nothing left to wait for but closing arguments, which the judge, they took a break today. There's nothing happening today. Well, let me restate that. The judge and the counsel, both legal counsels, are working on the instructions to the jury, that's very convoluted. They're working on that today. And then the closing arguments are going to be tomorrow. I've seen and follow trials where the closing arguments lasted for days. I've been to hours. But normally you get a pretty good indication of that at the beginning based on the length of the opening arguments. And if we base what the closing arguments are going to be based on what the opening remarks were, I think we might be in jury watch as early as Friday, if not sooner. So this is it. Honestly, I don't want to go into details with the whole Helena and James story because it's completely available in East Idaho News, and also because you almost need like a special kind of a stomach to deal with this. Lori and Chad Daybell, like little murderous teenagers. And now she doesn't want to talk. She doesn't want to take the podium, and it is her constitutional right. But you know what? She spoke a whole lot, and it's all there to be recorded. The more I go over this story, the more I wonder, did they truly believe they wouldn't have to respond to anybody for what they were doing? Well, they obviously thought they were going to get away with it. And I don't believe that they thought they were going to get away with it because the world was going to come to an end. I don't think so. I used to think that, but I don't think so, because if they did, they would have not gone to the lengths they went to hide, to like dismember and completely obliterate Tylee's body. And the same thing with JJ. Think about this. If they had not found those bodies, they would have not exhumed Tammy's body. We would not have a trial. And the lengths that they went to destroy those bodies, and particularly the way that the very specific way that Chad took to bury JJ, that just tells me they were really, really trying to avoid responsibility. They thought they were going to get away with these guys. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Well, today is Wednesday and it's church night, so I'm going to go. Tell me what you think. We're finally coming to some justice. I try my very best not to get overly excited. We must remember what this is all about. 3 people whose lives were unnecessarily destroyed just because 2 people like Shannon Lori Daybell decided to go cuckoo on us, and had people who supported them because they needed Alex. If Alex had not been willing to do their beating, if other people would have not been willing to follow along with their crazies, I'm telling you guys, and I say this with all of my heart, I feel that the prosecution has made pacts with the devil. I think some of these people, are very guilty, at least of plotting, if nothing else, at least of plotting. But what do I know? What do I know, right? That's just me. And as I always like to say, in my very unprofessional opinion, I love you so much. And I really, 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 truly appreciate you guys jumping in and being willing to follow this trial with me. My summer is going to be really busy because I'm getting ready to take a bunch of kids to summer camp, and I'm visiting family in Kentucky, kids that are graduating, and then in Wisconsin. So this trial is wrapping up just on time, and then I might just take a little hiatus. But there's plenty of material in this channel that you can continue looking at all my ramblings and my criminal cases. But I love you guys. Thank you. And hopefully next time I jump in, we'll have a verdict, or we're pretty darn close to it, or at least we'll be able to discuss closing arguments together. Thank you. Pastor Gene McIntyre. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.